Hello, dear friends at Kardec Radio. Here we are, Evolution into Worlds. The book Evolution into Worlds was psychographed by Chico Xavier and Valdo Vieira, two mediums. The spirit author is André Luiz, the same spirit author of the book No Solar, uh, In the Greater World, And Life Goes On, The Messengers, Missionaries of the Light, Liberation, etc. And he brings to us in this very book a tangible way of making us feel the greatness of God and our multi-millenary pilgrimage. Yes, we have been living for millennia, billions of years, in different forms, doing internships in matter, using different garments, in the different kingdoms of nature, evolving from simple and ignorant conscious to where we are, not simple and not ignorant at all. So welcome, friends. Welcome all of you in this beautiful day that we are celebrating life because André Luiz is going to teach us about fluids and how powerful we are within ourselves. Okay, so a big hug to all of you that I can see here, and don't forget this Saturday, the 17th, the Long Island Spiritist Doctrinal Studies is promoting, coordinating, organizing, sponsoring the annual suicide prevention event at the Stony Brook University. Our dear Dulce Story is here. She's the coordinator of it all, and she can kindly share with all of us a link to the website Li Spiritist, am I right, Dulce.org, where people can click and see the information about the event. Speakers, fraternal counseling, togetherness, awareness on suicide. Beautiful. Let's support it. Let's come if you are in the area, okay? Today, we're studying chapter 13th, Soul and Fluids. And I'm going to share with you the slides. We have a lot to share, but I tell you this. After this chapter, you're going to feel like super powerful. So Souza is going. Good job, so don't miss it, friends. Let's support it and work on it. So here we are. Soul and Fluids is chapter 13th of the book Evolution into Worlds. André Luiz begins by talking about fluids. So hold on, we're going to explain. He begins by saying the following. It's like a summary. We, the spiritual intelligences, the spiritual principles, the intelligent principles, the conscience created by God, learned how to accomplish complex transubstantiation of power, okay, in the multiple lineages of nature by adapting to the continents of the extra-physical sphere. The conscience then started to manage the phenomenon of meditation and reflection, in which thought is its basic foundation. So what is he telling us here, right? You may be asking, what is he telling us? He's saying to us, pretty much, that we learned how to manage the clay of life that God grants to us in two realms. And through our thoughts, we co-create with God. Thoughts, feelings, okay? We co-create with God. That's a learned experience. Mark it down. Why? Because we are learning. That's not a given. So if we have not achieved something, let's put Let's outline what we need to do to achieve it. Okay? He then tells us, he defines fluids. Why is he using this term? Spiritist term coined by Kardec in the book Genesis. That book tells us exactly the definition. Andre Luiz is going to recap, and he says, fluid is a body from which the molecules invariably give to minimal pressure, moving together when contained by a restraining agent, or moving apart when left alone. And he says that there are fluids. He says that there are fluids that are liquid, elastic, or aeriform. And the so-called imponderable fluids as agents that cause luminous, caloric, or other types of phenomena. So he's talking about, some people name it energies, but in Spiritism we call it fluids. And there are people who even dispute that energies and fluids are two different things. We're talking fluids as a state of matter, a state of matter. And that's why he's also talking about the different types of fluid. Okay, so it's a state of matter. He talks about molecules, he talks about pressure, he talks about uh, the status of it, and the different types: liquid, elastic, aeriform, and imponderable, causing luminosity. He then says about the living fluid. In the spiritual realm, the discarnate individual will more directly deal with a living, multiform, fervent, and inextinguishable fluid that flourishes from their soul, from their own soul. The discarnate individual will more directly deal with that fluid. Okay, remember yesterday we were talking about the soul of the discarnate, the spirit of the discarnate spirit. So he's saying when we're discarnated, that's what we have at hand to play with. And he says such fluid can be defined to a certain point as a byproduct of the cosmic fluid, absorbed by the human mind in a vital process similar to respiration, where the creature assimilates the emanated power of the Creator, dispersed through the entire cosmos, transubstantiating it at their own responsibility, thus influencing creation. Mamma mia, how responsible we become. Hmm? Think about it. Wow. You think you use this matter and we're influencing creation. Wow, right? Think about this. We're influencing creation itself when we're thinking, feeling. So, law of the mental field. What is the law of the mental field? I attract what I emanate. So, to attract the molecules, the fluids that we need to plan it out. It's not a given. What am I emitting? What am I intending? What is my intention? So that's one question for us today. What is my intention? And I am influencing it. So that's why the law of cause and effect, action and reaction. That's the law of life. Oh, but no. If I co-created in that direction, I must take responsibility. So now we know. And Andre Luiz continues. That's why he says living fluid. This fluid is the individual's continuous thought, creating energetic potentials never imagined before. It is certain that in the new sphere of action caused by death, the discarnate individual finds matter, as known in the world, in a new vibratory scale. So we already know the reports of several different mediums, and specifically Andrea Luiz, about the spiritual colonies and what happens in the afterlife. It's tangible, it's a real thing, and it comes from the construction of our minds. So he says to us, in the home of the beyond, to which it is transferred, the individual finds the same gravitational laws that control the earth, with days and nights being the timekeeper, although the harshness of seasons is suppressed by environmental factors that assures nature's harmony, establishing an almost constant and uniform climate, as if the equinoxes and solstices joined forces automatically rectifying the excessive influence that they exert. What is he talking about? He's saying when we are discarnated, because we use that living fluid through our thoughts and feelings, we are going to understand that there is a particular weather, though there are no extremes like on the earth, right? The incarnated level. But we are under the same gravitational laws. Aha, now we understand why, if our perispirit is too dense because of our evolution, we're gonna feel like, even though discarnated, feel like we're still incarnated because of the density of the spiritual body that goes according to our evolution. As I evolve, my spiritual body refines. If I am not, Kardec uses the word in the book Genesis, quintessenced. Okay, so I am more quintessenced in my spiritual body. Sunshine is asking, thought equals to fluid according to Andrea Luiz? No. He's saying that our thoughts produce that fluid. Why, Sunshine? Kardec explains in the book Genesis, Photography of the Thought, that our thought and our will are like hands manipulating this universal cosmic fluid from which derivates this fluid that we're talking about. So then we create our own mental fluid, each one of us. So our mental fluid is a derivation of this cosmic fluid that is manipulated by us, receiving qualities that are particular to our ways of vibrating. Okay? Rihanna, fluid could be energy, though many scholars are like, oh, but there's a difference, especially physicists. They say, it's a little different. What we would attain ourselves here is that it's a force that is it receives the imprinting of the qualities of our thoughts and feelings, and thus creating a mental field with that mental fluid. Okay? I think throughout this it's going to become clearer. Hold on and see if it's going to become clear. And he's saying, plants and animals, domesticated by human intelligence for millennia, can be acclimated and polished for certain periods of existence so that they can return to their original core on terrestrial soil and continue their evolutionary pilgrimage with added valuable purified acquisitions, helping the common flora and fauna on Earth with the benefits of spontaneous mutations. So he's talking about the fact that matter continues existing, okay, in the afterlife. He's just explaining to us that the soul manipulates this universal cosmic fluid, giving it qualities thus creating what Kardec says, spiritual fluids. Okay? Kardec in the Genesis titles spiritual fluids, which is a derivation of this primitive matter, the universal cosmic fluid, according to our will and our thoughts. Sunshine is asking, don't understand the difference between mental fluid and thought. Mental fluid, you'll see later in the slides. It's as if we are giving quality to this fluid according to our thought. Of course, thought becomes mental electromagnetic force. So one is the force and the other is the material that is under the imprinting of this force, creating the mental fluid. Hold on, because I think he's developing the understanding in the slides that we are opening up. Okay? Now he continues. Due to its simple cellular configuration, plants have limited reproduction in the extraphysical plane. So there are plants animals, leaving descendants that later will return to humankind, spontaneously aiding in the solution of different inherent problems without demanding from the incumbents great sacrifices for its conservation. So he's telling us that plants in the afterlife, because they're simpler than the animal kingdom, okay, they may transform themselves. Remember when Kardec mentions this and Luiz mentioned before that sometimes the evolution happens in an extra physical space, and that's why science sometimes cannot find the missing link here, because it happened in another planet or in the extra physical space, and then when reincarnating or doing another internship, mutations are going to appear because they were already promoted in the spiritual body. Okay? Chris Anastasia is saying, I keep thinking of the force from Star Wars. In it, it's an energy that flows from everything. So, yeah, I know we're gathering the information together to be more specific. So hold on, because he's going to come back to that point of mental fluid, thoughts, feelings, etc. Now he's saying, throughout these vast regions of subtle matter, subtle matter that circumvents the colossal body of the planet, populations of fortunate and less fortunate ones are found, and these, as well as the agglomerate of infernal discarnate creatures, who for fear of their own thought formations hide in the shadows, dreading or resenting the presence of light. So what is he saying here? What is he saying to us? André Luiz is telling us that in the afterlife, we are going to have animal, plants, and agglomerations of human spirits that, according to our will be in groups of affinity. In the afterlife, we're only together due to our affinity. Here incarnated, we can be at different levels of evolution and yet mixed up. Okay? Lisa Tellis is asking, how about it? People with mental problems, do they have the same fluids? I'm not so sure I understand, but let me guess if I understand it. You're talking about mental illnesses. Mental illnesses are what? A byproduct of actions that created what André Luiz explains in another chapter, which is a vibratory crystallization in the perispirit, and it's a vibratory disturbance that will be filtered out in the physical body, sometimes in the form of an imbalanced neurochemistry in the brain. Because we understand that mental illnesses physically speaking, they have their root in the nervous system. Okay? hmm So, but that for us as spiritists is not the cause. It's the imprinting of the mental disturbance that was caused in the mental body, perispirit, and then appears in the physical body. Okay? But we're not done. There's more. I mean, the fun is just beginning today. It's about soul and fluids. He continues. Now, spiritual spheres. In multiple countries, many communicators of the spiritual life have stated that the plane immediately beyond the incarnated residence is subdivided in many spheres, and so it is. However, not from a spatial standpoint, but from a perspective of condition, similar to what occurs in the globe of denser matter, where humanity proudly walks. Okay? So, if you go to the last part of the Spirit's book by Allan Kardec, the last questions, we have 1,019 questions and answers. You go 1,013 to 1,019, and we have the questions and answers about heaven, hell, purgatory. That's what Luiz is saying. In the afterlife, it's the mental condition that dictates the space that is being created there. So he's going to tell us, in addition to that, something else. Let me open again and forgive for the delay. He says, in order to justify our affirmation, let us quickly recall that the terrestrial crust is in its majority of elements solid, but conserving here and there ample cavities filled with warm liquid or plastic material. Okay, he's talking about the constitution of our planet. So he's going to talk about the large nucleus. Okay, and let me show to you. So beautiful. Let me open a little bit. I'm going to displace the text so you can see. Hold on, friends. So you can see the drawing of the earth, the diagram. I think that's going to be very useful. Okay, hold on. The system is a little slow, but we're going to get there. So, it says here. I know. Come on. So he talks about, this is the drawing. Look how beautiful it is. He talks about the constitution, the layers of the earth, the steel that is underneath, the type of stones. Okay. Uh, okay. Okay. Here we are. If it allows, we're going to be able to see it or not. I guess we're not. Yeah. We're having issues here. It's okay. Let's go back to where we were before. But, you know, if you Google it, you're going to see the layers of the earth and how beautiful it is. And he's just recapping that notion, saying, roughly on the surface lies the zone most appropriately labeled as the limit of the soil, which is the ocean bed. So he's talking about the different layers. Why is he saying this? Because he's going to tell us where we all live, incarnated and discarnated. Okay? So he's going to tell us clear cut, as he's saying, these are spheres that we create with our mind. We incarnated are living here on the earth's crust. But as André Luiz has already said in the book Nosso Lar, in this very area close to the earth crust, many discarnate spirits live around. Okay? Now he's saying, hold on. Mother Earth, I agree with you. Beautiful, right, Dulce? Responsibility and consequences. The discarnate conscience, now relatively responsible, will acknowledge the consequences of its own creations, while in the carnal field, through the respective reflexes on its thoughts, the fluid that imprints his most intimate feelings and which defines his most intimate desires. That's what we are mentioning, friends. We're talking about thoughts and feelings imprinting this universal cosmic fluid, giving quality to it. Okay? I'm gonna ask you for a pause because I need to check on Virginia. She's recovering. I'll be right back with you. Okay, friends. Okay, so all right. Thank you for waiting, and I apologize, but it's my daughter. She's 5-year-old girl, and my husband is with her. She's sleeping, but she's recovering. And a mother is a mother, you know. You can quickly put them back to sleep, attend, etc. So thank God everything's fine, and this is Earth, right? This is planet Earth. That's how it works. Thank you for your patience. And here we have, where did we stop? Responsibility and consequence. You see? Responsibility, mother's responsibility, right? So where were we? We were talking about precisely when we reached a moment in our evolution, the age of reason, when we realized the fact that we are um, evolving and we acquired responsibility with continuous thought, the word, language, right? Responsibility, free will, the discarnate spirit, as Luiz says, realized that there are consequences for our own creations. So the reflexes on its thoughts imprints the oh my fluids. Okay, so let's go to where we stopped. Ay, ay, ay. Okay, here we are. Here we stopped. It's about responsibility. And the supervision of the divine tutors, under their supervision, our crown chakra or coronary center and the brow chakra or cerebral center connected to the physical body in movement of work and atonement. Now we're going to talk about how the physical, the perispiritual, and the physical bodies externalize the mind. He says, it is through the coronary center, look at here, the crown chakra, at the top of your head, that the mind manages its vehicle of exteriorization. What is it? We externalize what we create mind feelings. When we talk about mind, we're talking about thoughts and feelings. Look at chapter 1 of the book Thought and Life by Emmanuel. While utilizing the cerebral center, which is the brow center, as you can see in blue, it's like the third eye, people call it the third eye, capturing stimuli, transmitting impulses, warnings, mental orders, suggestions to organs, tissues, cells, and body constituents expressing ourselves. So, Andre Luiz is explaining to us that these are the main vital centers or chakras that will express the mind, the impulses of the mind. So he continues. He's going to recap those ideas. He repeats and expands. The coronary center, which is the crown chakra, through an array of the encephalic nuclei, which is the main part of our brain, related to the cortex, but not only, holds on the thalamus, a vast system of spiritual governance. And this is right in the middle of our brain. Thalamus is a relay station, okay? So we're talking about how the spirit thinks, feels, and connect to its spiritual brain, then to the physical brain and all the cells in both bodies. In this delicate network of forces lies the inlet of thoughts or mental fluid by subtle secretion of the mind, not the brain. In this delicate network of forces, we have what? The mental fluid, our own creation. So it's like this. You create the imprint. I think what we can understand here the difference mainly. Think about blood, okay? Think about blood. Think about blood now, okay? There is the bloodstream, right? Blood and bloodstream. You see? Thought and the mental current, the mental fluid. So, blood and bloodstream. Okay? The concept is different, though the foundation is about the same. Okay? So, thoughts, feelings imprint that universal cosmic fluid, creating the mental fluid. And now he's talking about how that is going to be constantly bathing our nervous system and through specific areas, the crown chakra or coronary center and the cerebral center or the third eye, we're going to receive the information, govern our physiology, and take action in the world, in the universe. Okay? And he says, this fluid, the mental fluid, by repetitive impulses influences the entire brain, the cortical region, and the psychosomatic zones, vitalizing and directing the entire biologic cosmos. That's how we govern our physiology. And he says this fluid or mental matter has ponderability, means it can be measured, weighted, and specific chemoelectric properties defined in perfectly measurable units. So, thoughts can be measured. Hold on, because now he's going to talk about the composition of thoughts in that mental fluid. He's talking about thought particles. So he says, the thought particle, analogous to fluidic corpuscles, okay? It's like particles, like an atom, for example. The thought particle is an elemental unit that can be subdivided in multiple types in accordance to the quality, the quantity, the quality, their behavior, and their direction, the trajectory of theirs. So it's measurable and we can even quantify it. We can talk about the quality, how they act, and the destination of them all. And he continues, the thought particle, just like the atom, is a powerful living force. Okay, so thought is force, it's power. In its characteristics, nonetheless, passive to the intelligence that moves it towards good or evil. So it's like electricity. It's not good, neither bad. It's neither good nor bad. But it depends on how we use it. It's like money, it's like health, it's like anything in nature. It's neither good nor bad, but it depends on how we use it. So our thought can be a good thought or an evil thought, which is the opposite of the good thought. So for us, we need to give it quality, direction, quantity, destination. Okay, so mark it down. The thought particle, although lively and powerful in its constitution, as poured by the spirit that produces it, is also passive to the feeling, sentiments that defines the form and the nature of good or evil, which converts by accumulation into gravitational or liberating fluid, acidic or balsamic, sweet or sour, nurturing or weary, lively or deadly, consonant to the intensity of the feeling that typifies. Okay, I'm not so sure you are watching this. So let me just double check if you're able to see what I'm showing. I think you were right, friends. You were able to see what I was showing. Okay, I just want to make sure so I'm not. Were you guys able to see it? The thought particle slides? I just hope so, because it's very, very important to add those images that we have put together, because I feel it enhances our experience of learning. Okay, okay, I'm just double checking here on another system if you're able to see what I'm showing to you. Yes, thank you, because for some reason mine has stopped. So, okay, great. So right now I'm talking about thought particle. Okay, okay, so let me go back. There you go. I can see myself changing the slides. So he says about thought particles, and this is an exercise for us that you can do, because now he's giving like a classification of what happens to this fluid according to our feelings. Okay, so he says if it's a good thought and feeling, it's going to imprint in this mental fluid, freeing, liberating energies, versus gravitational, meaning denser, acidic, not too good, or balsamic, soothing, sweet, not sweat, sweet or sour, nurturing or weary, that makes you feel tired, lively or deadly. And that's why he gives to these fluids the name ray of emotions or ray of desire, because he doesn't have a better terminology. He says such power causes differentiation of mass and trajectory, impact and structure. And he continues, not only the mental fluid carries the mental sensitive disposition of the creatures in reciprocal action, but also the images that transit between brains with similar affinity through natural and incessant reflection, establishing progressive ideations that originated from the superior spirits, transmit to the discarnates of earth the most pure notion of civilization. Thus, intertwined circuits of forces between the two spheres emerge through the reflection of ideas. Remember, he's saying here, the mental fluid carries the mental sensitive disposition of the people who are interacting. And he says, but also the images that we exchange. Remember that you and I, we think in images. Let me make a test. I say the word pen. What do you think when I say pen? What is it that you think? Hmm? What is it that you think when I say pen? A pen, right? Cardiac radius pen. But it could be something else. It could be a blue pen, a red pen, a small pen, a larger pen, thinner, etc. So it's not the same. The way I visualize it is different, but we exchange it. And that's why he's saying we can't lose sight that we don't think on our own. We're always exchanging it. And there is what we call the exchange that will influence one another, forming connections. Remember when Emmanuel told us in the book Thought and Life. And then later in the book Mechanisms of Mediumship, André Luiz is going to recap that mechanism. But later in this book as well, when he talks about mechanisms of the mind. Okay? So if we go back here and continue capturing more elements, he's going to tell us, okay? He's going to tell us that we have these progressive ideations that are being imprinted by the superior spirits. Ah, so when we have a beautiful idea, where does it come from? Not mine. It comes from the higher spirits. And now I'm going to put a pause, because usually when we talk about this, even in spiritist circles, I say, oh, Mentor Joseph suggested us to study the book Evolution in Two Worlds. I remember in other circumstances in which I was visiting other centers and somebody asked me, but Vanessa, for example, we have the course on Spiritism, which we named the Roadmap. And I remember somebody asking me, how did that come about? I said, in 2007, 11 years ago, I was using my lunch hours to pretty much psychograph the Roadmap program that has 4 workbooks, and you can find in our website at ssvirginia.org, the Roadmap program. It's like a course on Spiritism. Mentor Joseph used to come every day and write the lesson plans that have been used by many spiritist centers around the world, including ours, and continues to be used. And then I mentioned this to a friend who is president of a spiritist center, and he laughed, said, oh, I spirit. And I said, but aren't we spiritists? Well, spirits interfere in our lives, especially when we are progressing. I mean, the superior spirits, right? So he's saying here to us, André Luiz, when there are ideas of progress, they come from superior spirits. Pause. You want me to read it again? I'll read it again. Because I know many spiritists who think great ideas come from their mind. I don't doubt. But André Luiz is telling us they come from superior spirits. The innovations in our society. Let us meditate on the implications of what he's saying. Ideas of progress that are originated in that intervention of the superior spirits. That is humbling. And I think sometimes we have a hard time exercising humility because we're constantly feeling ourselves alone, isolated, independent. The minute we feel our interconnectedness, the minute we feel that we are always being cared for by higher spirits, we're going to be just like, for example, Chico Xavier. You would ask Chico Xavier, what do you think about this? And he would think and say, Emmanuel is telling us. That doesn't mean that he didn't have his opinion, but he's talking about things that are beyond opinion. They're about life. I mean, facts in life. So Emmanuel knows better. He says, Emmanuel, or like Jesus, our guide and model. My Father sent me here. We are here because our Father wants us to be here, constantly referring to God. We are so childish, like kindergartners, who think they can do all by themselves at any time. We're still like this, spiritually speaking. Okay, we have 4 more slides to wrap up this beautiful chapter, but now it's getting hotter in this chapter because now we have a foundation and he's going to go to another level of understanding. He says to us, the physical plane, he says, is the birthplace of evolution that is perfected in the extra-physical plane. The physical plane insufflates the breath of life, while the extra-physical plane refines its foundations. Reincarnation multiplies the experiences that add on over time. Discarnation slowly subtracts the unnecessary fragments for the progress of the spirit and divides the remains, defining, under the law, the resultant state of a noble or indebted spirit. Action and reaction, we're sculpting our lives in 2 planes. The physical, we begin the sowing and we refine it in the afterlife. In the physical plane, we are going to co-create the forms and refine them in the afterlife. So action and reaction, cause and effect. Read the book Heaven and Hell and you see what André Luiz is talking about. The second part of it talks about it all. Reincarnation gives us more experiences, and discarnation is going to be the way in which I'm going to archive these experiences, organize them, okay? Finally, he's going to talk about the power of our creation. He says it is through the mental fluid with inductive magnetic qualities that progress occurs in an accelerated form. What does he mean? He's saying, I think and I imprint and I feel and I imprint the qualities, the intensity, the direction, the destination of the particles that are forming the stream of the mind. Mental fluid is the stream of the mind. Remember what we said, the analogy, blood stream, and then we have thought, mental fluid, okay? And then we are going to emanate and attract at the same time. By the exchange of thoughts of culture and beauty, Under dynamic expansion, the great principles of religion and science, virtue and education, industry and art descend from sublime spheres and are engraved in the mind of humanity, causing profound renovations to the spiritual body and reflecting on the physical vehicle by the acceptance of new habits. Okay, pause. We needed to break it down. So again, I feel and I think those thought particles are impregnating this universal cosmic fluid, transforming it into my own mental fluid, my own fluid, attracting what we need. Now, the higher spirits come, intervene, interfere like tutors, saying, come on, let's expand. And renovations happen in the spiritual body, the physical body. We're co-creators. We, the high spirits, everyone. There's one creator and everybody else is a co-creator. Through the mind, we're progressing. But we see, we don't progress alone. So if you open a spiritual center, oh, I just felt like opening one. It's not you. No, it's not you. It's the higher spirits. Paul of Tarsus says that God is always in an urgent need of a job well done. Everything comes from God. All the great ideas. Emmanuel says, all the good there is comes from God. We're co-creators. So that's why vanity disappears. Oh, I did it. God did it through us. Okay? God does things through us. Then pride goes away. Humility is elevated. I do well at work. God's progress. Yes, through us. Through us, but not from us. Through us, but not from us. Vanity disappears. Hesitation disappears because we need to be co-creators. And he says, the intelligent principle took a long time, and now he summarizes, to consolidate the extraordinary aspects of sensation, automatism, instinct, and rudimentary intelligence. Remember, 1.5 billion years? Nonetheless, with the diffusion of mental creative plasma, okay, as we are working on this elementary matter through our thoughts, creating our own mental fluid, continuously thinking, feeling, the advanced reflection between heaven and earth is settled, and the mental fluids, or acting thoughts, in the kingdom of the soul create profound transformation on the physio-psychosomatic vehicle, meaning the spiritual body, the perispirit, assembling and dismantling numerous civilizations to build them once again, where humanity with their inherited animal instincts continue until these days in the progressive work toward their own elevation to the real attributes of humanity. What is he telling us? That you're a co-creator, I am a co-creator. Homework? You want homework, me too. What's our homework? How am I co-creating? You want an exercise? Go to this slide here, where we define the qualities of our mental fluid, shall we? I think that's a good exercise when we define the qualities of our thought particles and thus the fluid that we are co-creating. So one question, is your current mental fluid dense, or quintessence, like in the sense like gravitational or liberating? Andre Luiz is mentioning this here. Is it acidic or is it balsamic, soothing? Is it sweet or sour? Is it nurturing or tiresome, weary? Is it lively or deadly? Hmm? That's our homework. Let us meditate on the sum of our thoughts and feelings and give, that's our homework, to write down if our current status in regards to our mental fluid is generating the qualities that Andrea Luiz is explaining to us. Okay, that's the homework for us. When we come back tomorrow, it's getting hotter and hotter and hotter because now we're gonna study spiritual symbiosis. Oh my gosh, what is it? Spiritual symbiosis. Now we're talking about the togetherness of life. Together forever you stay in my life and I will love you. Okay, we're gonna talk about that togetherness. Is it good? Is it bad? How does that work? How does that work in two realms? Right? Thank you, Rudy. I know Andrea Luiz is fantastic. The good spirits are fantastic. So our homework leading us to greater understanding and to make us realize, what am I attracting? If I am emitting this, I'll be attracting this. What am I attracting? Tomorrow at Kardec Radio. A big hug. Thank you, sunshine. Thank you, friends. And until tomorrow, God willing.